Imagine the night. It is 1942. The air is freezing and the world is at war.
You are a soldier on the ground. You look at the sky, but you see nothing. It is total darkness. No lights, no sound.
But then you hear it, a soft whoosh in the wind, just like a broomstick moving through the air.
And then, boom, bombs fall from the sky. You never saw the planes. You never heard the engines.
The Germans called them the Nachthexen, the night witches. But they weren't ghosts, Victoria. They were real.
That's right, Bruno. They were young Soviet women. Some were only 18 years old. They were students and daughters who decided to protect their country.
Only 18? That is incredible. But they didn't have the best technology, did they?
Not at all. In fact, they were given the oldest equipment. Their planes were made of wood and fabric. Can you imagine flying a plane made of wood into a war zone?
Wood and fabric. That sounds very dangerous. They were slow and very fragile. One fire and the plane was gone.
Exactly. And it gets worse. At the beginning of the war, they had no parachutes. And because the planes were open, they had no protection from the freezing cold. Sometimes the temperature was below zero.
So how did they survive? How did they become a legend?
Because they were smart. They developed a terrifying tactic. When they were close to the target, they turned off their engines.
They turned off the engines in the middle of the night?
Yes, they glided in total silence. The only sound was the wind against the wings. The enemy didn't know they were there until the bombs started to fall. That is why they were called witches.
That is absolutely electrifying. They weren't just pilots, they were shadows. And they didn't do this just once or twice, right?
No, they were unstoppable. Some pilots flew 10 or 12 missions in a single night. They had no sleep and no rest. They flew more than 20,000 missions in total during the war.
It's sad to think that many of them didn't return. If the enemy's searchlights found them in the sky, they became an easy target.
True, but the ones who survived became heroes, even if the world forgot them for a while. After the war, they didn't look for fame. They went back to normal lives. They became teachers, mothers, and workers.
Slowly. Their courage wasn't loud. It didn't shine. It moved quietly, like a plane in the night.
A beautiful way to remember them. Their story reminds us that bravery comes in many forms.
Well, that is all for today's story about the legendary night witches.
We hope you enjoyed this journey into history. If you want to improve your English and discover more amazing stories like this one, stay with us.
Don't forget to join us for our next episode.
Both of us. See you next time on Real Talk English. The B2 podcast is also available here. Comment B2 Night Witches podcast, and I'll send it to you to practice listening with amazing and different topics like this you have just heard. See you all. Bye.